explain what's going to happen in the airport and also how to revamp the aviation industry. Later on, we'll be joined by the Deputy Minister for Health to address questions on the cost of the tests that we'll be giving to people who come in. Stay with us.
Morning. I just sent you Airtel Tigo money from my new number. We delivered 2 healthy kids last night. Congrats. Have you heard? Kwesi has
2 kids. Have you heard?
My son has 2 kids. Abazi. No. No, your sister almost 7. Have you heard the news about the missing chicken?
Have you heard? Get free calls and free Airtel Tigo money transfers for 6 months on new Airtel Tigo SIMs. Get a SIM today.
Africana City is building bamboo bicycles to help children get to school.
Welcome back to The Point of View. So tonight we'll be taking you into the Kotoka International Airport to show you how passengers will be tested, traced, and possibly isolated if they are COVID positive. They will be given an antigen test. There are different tests. There's the PCR, there's the antibody, there's the antigen test, and there are also RDT tests, which are a group of tests. But before I bring my guest in, let me take you to the airport. Our Hansen Ajiman just came through with a short report, having visited exclusively the arrival lounge of the Kotoka International Airport.
This is the arrival section of the Kotoka International Airport. Even before COVID, most international airports had temperature check-in machines. It's been more than 4 months since Ghana had its fair share of the pandemic, which has literally brought the world to a standstill. President Akufo-Addo, after deliberations with a number of stakeholders, have decided to open Ghana's borders. If you come to the arrival section of the Kotoka International Airport now, it goes beyond just a temperature check-in machine. The City Newsroom team is here to find out the sort of machines, equipments, and protocols that have been put in place by the airport officials to ensure that we're able to know the status of the passengers. This part is the upper arrival area. Mandatorily, everybody will have to undergo COVID-19 testing. And for that purpose, everybody will have to use the upper arrival area. There have been markings to ensure social distancing. When they come out of this place, they have to go to their left point because they'll need to make some payments for COVID-19 tests to be undertaken. Per our interactions and per our sources, so far since the borders opened, most of the flights that we've had, or all, if not all, have been chartered flights. So basically, what the passengers would do is to go through this lane. Now, if you pass through this place, there are seats available. These seats are for persons who perhaps might be tired of walking or standing. Passengers who might not be able or who do not fill their forms, which is the health declaration forms, the port officials have made arrangements for them. Now there are some of these cards that have been readied so that they can fill their forms right here. If also you have internet access or access to the internet, they've made available to the web page for which you can access the form online and fill as well. Tablets that have been made available by the Ghana Health Service in collaboration with the airport authorities. Basically, just the same way you will fill your health declaration form manually. This is the health declaration. Whether you have any fever, you have cough, you have headache, you have bodily weaknesses. Basically, if in any way you've experienced the COVID-19 symptoms. All passengers now come in to queue here. There are 3 queues for persons who come in here. If you enter the Sido banking hall that has been created by officials of the First Atlantic Bank in collaboration with authorities, you get to see an ATM. There are tellers also, about 12 tellers here, and there are 2 upper arrival areas. So for everything that you see at this particular upper arrival area, which is the left wing, there's another one at the right wing. If you have done your payment prior to embarking on your trip, all you have to do is to show them your passport and documentations that indeed you've made the payment, and then you can undergo your COVID testing. These cubicles, you may say, are the most important part of the process, because this is where the sample will be taken. Each individual passenger will have a cubicle to him or herself. From what authorities have indicated to us, this particular desk will be where officials of the Ghana Health Service will put their equipment, and then the passenger will be seated here where his or her sample will be taken. Hand sanitizer is situated at vantage point to ensure that while you're taking your test, you're also protecting yourself from contracting the virus. After the sample is taken, a lab has been created here. All officials will do is to take your sample to this lab, and then the testing is being done. There's a way it's being communicated to Port Health officials. So when your sample is done taken, and officials give you the go-ahead to move to the health services area, which usually or initially used to be your normal arrival area, all you just have to do is walk through the space all the way to the Port Health Services area. Despite undertaking the COVID-19 test, when you come to the health services area, it is also mandatory that you go through the temperature check area. Within this space as well, markings have been made to ensure that the social distancing protocol is adhered to. So usually what you would do is that you walk to this red mark, and then you stand here, and then your temperature will actually be taken. When you're positive, they'll direct you to the Port Health officials, who will do further screening and determine what should happen next to you. But hopefully, when you are negative, you are allowed to go through the other process, which basically is going to the immigration services to conclude the other processes.
So that was Hansen Ajiman's report. So I think it's the first journalist to have been allowed in there since September the 1st when it was open. So the journalists went there for a press conference, but they were not given access. So today Hansen was given exclusive access. He tried to walk us through the process. The minister is here to actually explain what's going to happen. Later on, I'll be speaking to Deputy Minister Okoboy and ask a couple of questions. So what is the quality of the test we're doing for people who come in? There's been some controversy about that. And I also ask him whether the cost is fair, because we are seeing some lists from certain airports suggesting that the $150 per test is too high, but that's in the second part. So Honorable Joseph Kofi Adda, welcome to the show. Good evening.
Thank you very much, Bernard, for inviting me over.
It's been a busy few days for you.
Indeed, it's been not just days, it's been weeks.
How long have you been planning to reopen?
Well, we've been planning a little over a month. We've looked at the numbers as they've come through the system. We've looked at the President's measures and the directives and how things have tapered off a bit. We looked at the international scene and thought that the way things are going, we can reposition ourselves well and make sure that we have very effective protocols and that we can control any potential importation of any of the virus into the country. And we think we are pretty set to be able to contain that.
We opened before the Nigerians did. In
Correct.
Africa, we're one of the earliest to open. What did the president ask you? Because I'm sure there were meetings with the health people, with you and all that. What was your input? What assurance did you give that we were ready? to allow people to start coming in from all over the world?
First of all, let me say that we're the first in Africa to open for domestic operations out of those who had closed down. And that's all because of the measures that we took. We worked with the domestic airlines, Africa World and Promotional, and made sure the protocols served us by the Ghana Health Service and the coming from WHO. We stuck to them rigorously and we were quite successful on that. With that experience, we looked at the way, as I mentioned, the numbers were going down and the way Ghanaians were adhering to protocols. We thought the best way to get on this to introduce other measures to ensure that those coming from outside are being screened adequately. And when the president asked us, we told him that the best way to do this to be sure that nothing comes in through our borders, the air borders, of course. And then if any comes in, we're able to contain it, perhaps take it straight to the treatment center. We simply meant that before you get on the flight, you must show that you have certificate of negativity, as it were, and that you've been tested, and you have a PCR report that shows you're negative. And so when you get here, we expect that you won't have it. But just in case you contract it along the way, we'll test you again to be sure that you're not coming in with it. And so far, since we started the 1st of September, just yesterday, out of the passengers who have come in, they've all been proved to be negative.
Negative?
Yes.
Good. I want you to now walk me through what Hansen did. Obviously, he's not an airport official, so he just gave a journalistic view.
Yes.
How long would the typical process take? If I came in at 8 o'clock via KLM from Amsterdam, when would I, with the protocols, do you have an estimated time that I will go through the airport?
We don't expect it to go more than 30 hours. But of course,
30 minutes.
All depends on 30 minutes, I beg your pardon, not hours. It all depends on the number of passengers who come along with you.
Okay.
We expect it not to go beyond 30 minutes from the time you arrive and go through the whole queue of entering the booth where your specimen is being taken, where the runner carries the specimen into the lab where it's been tested. By then we've left and come down to the Port Health official.
So this is where you come through?
Indeed.
So you come through here and there's a sanitizer?
Yes, when you come in on the boarding bridge, you are ushered in by or directed by airport staff as to where you should go through. And
so you have to stand on the green?
In the green. You're spacing yourself by the social distancing requirements. And the person ahead of you and the one behind you don't come too close.
Okay.
You go along this queue all the way to the far end. This on the southern wing of the arrival side.
So when you come in through the gangway and you walk through here?
You walk through here, go all the way to the southern end of it, turn around and come back where you have to make your payment and come back into the, of course, you will fill the forms.
So you do this before you get to immigration?
Yes, correct.
So this
immigration is down.
Right from
down.
the gangway into the tube?
Into the tube, go through the tunnel all the way to the far end, turn around and come back, and then, by then you would fill your forms anyway.
Yeah.
You make your payment, you come to the testing booth where the specimen is taken, then they move it to the lab, and then once it's gone to the lab, you go down, and by the time you get to the Port Health official downstairs, the results would have been there.
How long will the sample taking be when I enter the room for the sample?
The sample taking, I understand, is about 2 minutes, don't bother that.
2 minutes?
Sometimes a few seconds.
A few seconds?
It just takes a matter of dipping the swab into.
So these are the booths for the samples?
These are booths for samples. And you get seated there. The official, Port Health official, you sit on this.
Okay.
Port Health official will be there, tilt your head back and take the sample, and then put in the container that it should be in, and then it's carried straight off to the testing booth, and then the testing while you come out the other way and start walking away.
So I'll go and wait for my test results?
Exactly. You're actually not physically waiting, you're walking away. By the time you get down to the...
Seriously?
Well, yeah, by the time you get down,
I should take my sample from here?
Yes.
You
don't take the sample, they take the sample.
They take my sample?
Take your sample, give it to whoever is going to send it to the testing lab. You'll be walking away.
Yes.
You're going back to the normal process. You get downstairs. By the time you get downstairs to the Port Health booth, it's ready. The results should be ready for you.
But wouldn't I interact with any official after my sample is taken?
Well, after it's taken, really, you shouldn't interact with anybody because it's only passengers who are coming in, and those passengers coming in are on the other side, and you're partitioned, you're blocked by a glass wall.
So this is
the Port Health booth.
So this is a Port Health booth before immigration?
Down, exactly so.
So there's an added layer of check before immigration?
It should have been so in the past, but we never gave the Port Health officials the right to print the manner they'd like to. So this is what is just
So this is the Port Health people I meet?
Thanks to Millennium Promise.
So what's this screen? Taking my temperature?
Yes, correct. There's the appearance of a CCTV camera, but it's actually the thermometer gun that's up there. So once you move towards the port health booth, it takes your temperature and shows there. If you're negative, it shows a green.
So if my temperature is higher than 37 point something,
yeah, it will show red.
You are suspect.
They usher you out.
At what point do I show? Okay, I'm told you have
By that time, the results will be ready.
So am I ready? Okay, I'm just asking. Before I board the plane from wherever I'm coming, I'm told I should have a PCR negative.
Correct.
Where do I show it? I show it before I board the flight.
Before you board the flight.
So that's not your business.
No.
Once I get here,
then you show
my sample is taken for the antigen test.
It's not a purely antigen test. I think you're going to talk to Dr.
Yes, I'll talk to
who explain the
this.
details. It's not an antigen test per se. It's described as the technical manner that you and I do know. Say that it's a amino acid assay. I can tell
you are not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
Is Okoboy on the line?
It's on the line. It's on the line. But I can tell you.
So I'll ask him to talk to me about the test. Yes. But I want to walk me through the process. So my sample is taken.
Yes.
By the time I get out of the booth to the other side,
yes,
the result is ready.
Yes.
I take my temperature at the port health.
Yes.
So what if
the result would have been there?
Okay. So what if the result says positive?
They'll usher you through another lane. You go to a holding booth where the medical officials are sitting, where they will
arrest me.
They don't arrest you physically. You would talk to them, and they would, if there's any counseling required, in terms of measures, in terms of being able to take off to the treatment site, that's where all that will happen.
At what point do I pay the $150?
When you come off the gangway and walk up.
I pay before the sample is taken?
Before the sample is taken, correct.
Hey, yes. Cash or check or card?
Well, you can pay before you even get on the flight.
I can pay before I get on the flight?
Oh, yes, exactly so. You can
and
pay,
it will be indicated in my ticket that you have paid for the test.
And then when you come in here, you don't have to pay again.
Please take me back to the airport. I want to show the airport again. So, this is the new airport, right? This is the new terminal.
Very true, yeah, Terminal 3.
But you don't do this for domestic flights?
No.
You don't do this for domestic flights?
No, we're not doing tests. We're all in Ghana. We're not expecting that it's being imported to Ghana. It's already in Ghana. So.
Okay. Now, at rush hour at the airport, sometimes you have thousands of people. Are you sure these markings...
Maximum we've had about 1,200. That's what we're targeted.
Are you sure these markings will be enough to provide a social distance? Because if you created a new barrier, so the airport is now getting more congested.
No.
Because initially there was nothing like this.
It's actually more controlled. We're all going in as well, like sheep all moving towards a certain direction. But now you're going through the lane smoothly. So the same numbers we've used to design this.
Is there special treatment for Ghanaians?
No.
Why not? When you go to the UK, don't you see
has the virus chosen whether you're Ghanaian or foreign?
No, we're not talking about special treatment. Like if you go to any country.
Oh, you talk about visas?
I mean, we are Ghanaians. We are in our country, so we should go first. As in, we should be given the test first because we are in a hurry. I mean, if you go to any country, citizens go through the system so smoothly. Why aren't you doing the same for us?
Well, frankly, I don't think that discussion has come up, and I don't see the need for that because it's not only Ghanaians who are going to be coming in, and the potential of anybody having the virus could be foreign, it could be Ghanaian. I don't really see the need for that.
You don't see the need to give Ghanaians preferential treatment?
If you think there's a special need for that, maybe we'll have to look at it all over again.
Why would government subsidize part of the $150 for Ghanaians?
Oh, well, you have to go back and look at the whole national resource envelope. All the social intervention measures that have been undertaken, all the tests that were carried out before when people were being quarantined, those were virtually free. And how can we continue to do this?
Okay, so let's go back to the airport. I am tested, and touch wood, I am positive. I go to Port Health. Am I going to be quarantined, and where will I be sent to in terms of isolation or quarantine, and who's going to pay for it?
The treatment centers, that's where you're going to be sent to, and I think the state is going to be paying for the treatment.
The state will pay for my treatment?
The treatment, yes. That's what's been done now.
So you don't expect a lot of positives at the airport?
Today, when we went through the whole process, all came out negative.
How many people came through, do you know?
There about 400 and nearly 420.
420 passengers,
yes.
All negative?
All negative.
Which destination, where did they come
KLM, there's a private charter flight as well. There's TAP Portugal.
KLM, a private charter, TAP Portugal. So they could be from literally anywhere into Amsterdam
and
into Portugal.
Yes.
So some could have come from China.
Well,
Some could have come from America.
Yeah, anybody coming through Amsterdam could be from any part.
Are there any countries with high COVID-19 cases that we don't allow into Ghana? Or once you open the airport, everybody can come?
We don't have that now.
So everybody can come to Ghana?
The idea is that if you come from any part of the world, you must have a negative certificate. So whether it's epicenter or not, once you test it with negative, you're allowed to come in.
So there's no discrimination in
that's the real.
that
That's the real sieve. That's the real barrier.
By how much do you expect numbers to increase in, say, a month's time? 420 is pretty low for
the average number we've had peak time per day has been 7,000, 3,500 in, 3,500 out.
Wow.
By the time that we shut off the airport and started reopening, good domestic, that was about 500, 600. Then we went off with
passenger numbers have decreased from 7,000 to 400.
Yes. And the 400 were more domestic.
Wow.
There's virtually no foreign one on international until we started taking the evacuations and the special flights. And the numbers were going up slowly from about 1,100 to 1,700.
The flights that came in, did they go back empty or did they get passengers?
If there's been any special arrangement for any evacuation, special citizens going back to their countries, any workers who are in Ghana who have to go back out of the country, yeah, it carries them away.
So it seems as if more people are coming in than Ghanaians going out.
More were actually going out than coming in when we shut down because foreign citizens were going out. We're just beginning today, so now that we begin to see numbers coming in.
But so initially we'll have more coming in now,
yes,
and then eventually it will start balancing out.
That's what we're hoping up. Yeah.
So
between the 6th of April and the 30th of August, I think we had a total of 8,226 passengers who came in.
Okay. Yes. 6th of April.
Yeah. And 30th August.
30th of August.
8,226, I think.
So more went out than came in.
It increased, yes. It increased slowly.
Wow. How badly have the airlines been affected by this 5 months of closure?
Very badly. Many of the airlines have shut down. Some have sold the aircraft. Some have laid off their staff. Some have had some relief from their governments. It's been a batting from charges levied on the aircraft that are landing. There's the landing fees. We're not getting that. They have the over-flight fees. We're not getting that because very few are going over the country. And then the air passenger service charges also were not there for us to earn any incomes on. So it's been very bad for us. Wow.
Now, talk to me about the plans to support our airlines. We have Passion Air and we have another local one. Is there any Africa World? Is there any special plan to support? Because Africa World used to go to Nigeria as well.
Yes.
So it's a regional airline.
Correct.
What do you want to do? What are you doing for them?
Well, there's no special plan at this point in time. I think they commend them for being active and for helping out in this tough time that we're going through. They've applied for all kinds of support, but we've not really settled down on a specific assistance program for them.
Mm. Yeah. This is the point of view. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be joined by the Deputy Minister for Health to talk about the cost of the test and the type of test we are doing. We also have still in studio Honorable Kofi Ada, who's the Minister for Aviation, to explain to us what's going to be happening with our airports. We're doing a conversation about Ghana's reopening of Kotoka and its implications. Stay with us.
Just not ready yet. I want to wait a little before getting pregnant again.
Stop worrying and live free. No matter who you are, Lydia has a contraceptive just for you. Choose the Lydia Daily Contraceptive Pill with iron as your regular contraceptive, or the Lydia IUD, a non-hormonal contraceptive for long-term pregnancy prevention. Contact the Lydia Contact Center and let us help you decide how to live free. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Don't just watch, be wowed. Get fired up. get down. Catch feels, drop the mic, choose to be moved, on the move, hot spot, any spot, enjoy a new view, walk in another's shoes, power heels, paws, and feet. Take your stories to the streets. Hold court with court queens, ice queens, and yas queens. Fly away, come back home, and enjoy online entertainment on any screen. Sign up at showmax.com and change the way you watch. Africanacity is using plastic waste to provide affordable homes.
Election 2020, Ghana makes a choice. Tracking and bringing you reports of the presidential and parliamentary campaigns across the length and breadth of this nation.
Analyzing campaign activities and election data with our panelists on the Voters' Diary.
The Voters' Diary is the most factual, instructive, and balanced election 2020 analysis program on television.
The Voters' Diary every weekday on City TV from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Stay informed on all the relevant issues on election 2020. Tune into the Voters' Diary. It's Ghana's choice.
Imagine if you can get all the understanding on some of the difficult subjects you struggle with in school. As a student, do you feel dissatisfied with how hard it is to figure out the subjects you're learning? Or as a parent or guardian, do you worry that your child is struggling to understand some of the subjects in school? Well, now you don't need to sign up for extra lessons or tutors. Simply tune in to Class Act, Mondays to Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. on City TV. Class Act is a show that seeks to enable senior high school students gain a much better understanding of what they learn in school. All you need is a TV, a chair, your notebook, and your pen. Get clarity on subjects such as maths, English, IT, and science. Class Act airs every Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on City TV on DSTV channel 363 and GoTV channel 182. Don't forget your pens, pencils, and your notebooks, and tune in to Class Act only on City TV.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're trying to understand all it takes to get an airport functioning. Minister Kofi Adda is in studio with us. He says at peak we had 7,000 passengers. Today we got 420. We're hoping to increase the numbers. There are other issues about the airport. There's a whole conversation about whether it should be privatized or not, and also the issue of investment. We need billions of dollars to really revamp this to make it a regional hub. Here's a quick report from the City Business Dashboard. As we prepare to reopen the airport, some interesting things were said by the reporter. When we come back, we'll grill the minister on some of these issues and then go to our deputy minister on the cost of the test and the type of test being run.
After the closure of Ghana's only international airport to passenger travel in the wake of COVID-19 for 6 months, the facility will be officially reopened to international flights on Tuesday. Managers of the facility say they expect to receive about 1,200 passengers daily during its peak period. The Aviation Ministry says special measures have been put in place to receive the large number of passengers expected in the country. The sector minister is hopeful the installation of COVID-19 testing devices at the Kotoka International Airport will ease pressure on the facility.
That we have been very rigorous in our adherence to these well-known protocols, including the disinfection of the airports and aircraft themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, Sticking with the protocols, therefore, will not be new to us. That is with the reopening of the airport. Safe to say that it is the increase in the number of passengers that could pose a challenge, and that is why the Ghana Airports Company, supported by the Ghana Port Health Authority, have instituted special measures to ensure the effective management of the process here at Kotoka International Airport.
Despite revenue losses and subsequent job cuts in the aviation sector, Mr. Ada says the Ghana Airports Company managed to keep its staff.
While we in the aviation sector have played our part to support the government's efforts in this regard, such as waiving rent, reducing royalties, as well as landing charges for aircraft coming into the country, we have also managed to keep our staff in their jobs due partly to our own efforts, as well as the package put together to support our sector by the Minister of Finance, directed by the President.
At the same press briefing, the aviation minister explained government's decision to partner a private investor to manage the Kotoka International Airport.
There's not going to be any sale of any airport infrastructure or the Kotoka International Airport whatsoever. We are not selling the airport, we are not privatizing the airport. Indeed, we do not even have a management contract for any company to come and take over the management of the airport. That's not going to happen. What we're working on is to ensure that we expand infrastructure, to create more opportunities for Ghanaians. Now, the constraint we have is that we have to service the big debt for this terminal building. Minister of Finance cannot shoulder the burden of keep giving us more money every time to develop infrastructure, because they've got roads, health, education to deal with. Therefore, we have to look at partnerships.
Speaking to City Business News, Mr. Ada announced that government is seeking to invest over $3 billion in the aviation industry.
It's billions of dollars. All depends on the areas that they pick. But if you look at the cumulative, we're talking between $2 to $3 billion. If we really go to one, if we're going to go full throttle for the whole airport. If we want to really do the way Ghana should be a hub, but it will take time.
So you are looking for $3 billion.
If we have to do that over 5 years or so,
for what?
To expand the entire infrastructure and be like Skibble Airport.
So you are going to expand this one?
If we have to. Not this one, all the aviation sector in Ghana. You're building Takrady, you're building Sudan, you're building all of these places.
So we have only one international airport in Ghana.
Are we on air?
Yes, we are on there. We are
okay,
there.
I thought it was
Yes, we are there. Yes.
No.
We have only one international airport in Ghana. Is Kumasi international?
Kumasi is going to be international. Tamale is going to be international. And these are airports which require heavy infrastructure. New terminal buildings, runways being extended, the other facilities like the firefighting systems and the air traffic control towers. These are things that we have to develop in addition to the semblance of the airport city that we have in Accra. Smart city concepts should be associated with the airport, such that budget hotels, all the things that we need to service aircraft, such as hangars and so on and so forth. These are things that we have to do.
So the $3 billion is not just for Kotoka?
No, it's not for Kotoka. It's not for any single airport. It's for the entire aviation sector. There are many opportunities in the aviation sector that we're not looking at in Ghana. Air traffic control, aviation training organization, which is training pilots, cabin crew, training engineers to support the aviation sector. These are things that we cannot just do with a penny. There's maintenance.
Will the $3 billion go into the Cape Coast Airport too, that you promised at the
That's really relatively small amount of money if you look at all the other things we need for the aviation sector. Let me emphasize this for the aviation sector.
Not just for the airport, for the whole sector.
No, aviation sector. We're talking about training pilots, we're talking about training engineers and technicians, we're talking about having modern cargo villages, we're talking about budget hotels and the associated hospitality industry. We're talking about airport city, smart city concepts around the airport. These are all the things we're talking about. Including even convention centers, exhibition centers for aviation.
I'll come back to the airport. Let me go to health. Dr. Okobo is Deputy Minister for Health. I have 3 questions for him. He's joining us via Zoom. Doc, welcome to The Point of View. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Senior Daddy.
Good to have you. I have 3 questions for you. The first one was put out by the Bureau for Public Safety, They are saying that the $150 fee for COVID-19 tests is against WHO regulations. In fact, they've written to your boss, the health minister, and they're basically saying that they are drawing your attention to a direct contravention of the WHO's international health regulation by the GOG requiring your immediate attention. And they're basically saying that charging $150 testing fee is a grave violation of Part 7 of the International Health Regulations law, which states inter alia that, quote, except for travelers seeking temporary or permanent residence, no charge shall be made by a state party for any medical examination provided for in the IHR or any supplementary examination which may be required by the state party to ascertain the health status of the traveler. So they are requesting that you withdraw the $150 testing fee, maintain the 72-hour prior takeoff testing requirement, and enforce a 14-day mandatory self-isolation regime. Has this come to your attention? What's your comment?
Yeah, Ben, thank you very much. Once again, good evening to all your viewers. So this afternoon, that HR, the health regulation, was brought to my attention. I've done a quick look. I am yet to appreciate the contravention there, especially when what we are doing is not a novelty. I mean, it's not only for, let's say, SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, but there are many disease conditions that countries make sure they screen people before they enter. Yellow fever is one of them. I can cite South Africa. There are countries that also request of you to have a TB test done, especially for students going to study in the UK. Even with COVID-19 globally, there are airports as we speak. When you want to go into Nigeria, you have to do a PCR test. When you get to Rwanda, you have to do a PCR and go into quarantine, wait for results. So, I mean, we are not in normal times, and I am even yet to appreciate the illegality in our action, let alone go ahead to mention our unusual times that we find ourselves. So really, I don't even know whether the issue is with the 150 or the issue is with charging at all. We have a supreme responsibility to keep our population safe, and I don't think that anybody is going to take Ghana on for engaging in action that will protect its citizens.
If I may just add on to that, I think I heard something about the mandatory 14-day requirement to reach to that.
Yeah.
If you took that and compel everybody coming to the country to go and stay for 14 days and pay the daily cost of a hotel, what would it come up to?
It's more expensive.
$900 and above against $150. So it's important that we consider this.
Fair enough.
Are they actually helping us or they're making us worse off?
They are saying you are breaking the law that they've quoted. So you are saying you don't see yourself breaking the law.
At all.
We have to talk to the WHO or get the law ourselves. Second point has to do with the type of test we are doing. There's been a lot of conversation about this. We know the PCR that Noguchi does. We also know that there's something they call RDT, but you are saying it's an antigen test. How accurate is this antigen test we are doing?
Yeah, but so yes, classically when people mention RDT or rapid diagnostic test, they actually refer to these antibody tests which come in various forms. The antibody test, the classical RDT, usually looks for presence of antibodies, and antibodies are developed in the human body usually within 2 to 3 weeks, minimum 2 to 3 weeks after you've been infected with the virus. So really, if someone tests positive for that antibody test, the rapid one, it doesn't really tell you that the fellow is currently infected. It only tells you that he's been exposed to the virus. Now, what we are trying to do at the airport is to stop viruses from entering Ghana. If we go for an antibody test, which is cheaper, you can have a lot of people sleeping in. We can have a lot of people actually sleeping in with the virus. And so we wait for the antigen test. Now, what an antigen test does is to identify the virus itself, to detect its presence. And that is what a PCR test does. A PCR test is a form of antigen test because it actually identifies the virus. Now, what is happening at Kotoka is an antigen test which is not using PCR technology or what we refer to as the nucleic acid amplification. It doesn't do that. What this one does is referred to as fluorescent immunoassay technology. It uses another route to identify the virus. But the good thing is that once it tells you it's positive, you know that the virus is present. If it says negative, then the virus is absent. And Ben, the Food and Drug Authority, which is the body that actually does the, how do you call it, the standardization or assessment of these machines, actually benchmarked it with results from PCR and using samples of COVID patients in Ghana. And guess what? The sensitivity was right up there between 99 to 100%. And so the talk about, I mean, I've heard about the virologist from Noguchi who spoke about a rapid test not being, how do you call it, sensitive and people slipping through. Really, when he was questioned or confronted, he said he was speaking generally, and he was referring to rapid test, which is the antibody test. But this one is an antigen test, but because of technology, the results come out real quick, in about 50 to 30 minutes. And so some mistake it for an RDT, which normally is in another category altogether.
There's another question. There's a list circulating on social media, which I want to bring to your attention, which has a list of 18 countries, various airports, and test types and amounts. I put it on the screen for your comment. Number 1 on the list is Liberia, Robert International Airport. We are told their PCR test is free. Now, I need to say that we saw this on social media only today, so I haven't confirmed all. But I believe you may be in a position to confirm and deny. In the list, Ghana's test is described as antigen $150. UK Heathrow PCR $200. Benin PCR $165. Has this list come to your attention? And what is your comment? Because if it has, India, Malaysia, and seem to have antigen tests at lower costs. Have you seen this list?
Ben.
What's your comment? Yeah,
Ben. So, first of all, when you talk about an antigen test, I just explained that a PCR is a form of antigen test.
Okay.
The immunoassay at the airport is another form of antigen test. When the two were benchmarked, their sensitivity was almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even when you are doing an antigen test, the technology has an effect on the sensitivity level.
Mm-hmm.
So the antigen test that might be less 60% sensitive compared to a PCR. The antigen test that can be 45%. So it's not all antigen tests that give you the same accuracy. And so usually the degree of specificity will have an impact on the charge or what the cost you pay, the cost price, I mean. The same applies for antibody tests. There are antibody tests that are as cheap as $2. There are some that might even cost you $75. What's the difference? The difference is in the mechanism through which it identifies the antibodies. Some have specificity as low as 6%. In fact, the FDA did an assessment of RDTs, that's rapid test, antibody tests, that have been brought into Ghana. Some were as low as 6%. 6% meaning that when they were presented with samples from COVID patients who were severely ill in Ghana, some picked just 6 out of the 100 and actually gave the green light for over 94 people who were severely ill, saying that they are okay. Some were about 40%, some were about 60%. So even amongst antibody tests, the prices can vary depending on the sensitivity level and the specificity.
Let me show you something. There's the product we are using to do our test. What is it called? Because I have I have a screenshot of the test kit, which is telling me that the sensitivity of the kit we are using is 87.5 and the specificity is 96.5. So I wanted you to confirm if this was the case, if you are still there, Dr. Okoboy. There's I wanted to show you on the screen AFIAS COVID-19 AG test. Clinical performance is listed there. sensitivity 87.5, specificity 96.5. Is this, and this test kit contains a cartridge, a pipette tip for operation, extraction tube, a nozzle, and an ID chip. Is this the what I put on the screen? Is this what we are using?
Yeah, Ben.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the FES is the machine that is being used here. But yes, but usually what you do is that machines by default, the producer or the manufacturer will tell you their sensitivity and specificity level. But what you do is that you have to localize it by taking it to your lab and testing it with samples from your country. That's the way to appreciate the exact figures. Sometimes your in-country results can be better than that from the manufacturer. Sometimes it can be worse, depending on what you are having in your country. And I'm happy to say that when the FDA did the benchmarking, we had sensitivity level, which was about 99%. And the specificity was equally as high, about 99%.
Really? So you're saying that the specificity and sensitivity don't come with the product, they are tailor-made? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, my point is that the manufacturer will give you a figure, but the figure is usually an average of numerous studies that are, tests that have been done across different populations, across different regions, with different climates. You do that so that it makes the machine actually universal. But you don't make the mistake of just taking what has been stated by the manufacturer and applying to your setting. You must take it to the regulator or the authority that does the standardization and the checks. And in Ghana is the FDA. And when the FDA did it, using samples from in-country, the results we had were very, very high.
Fantastic. Finally, I'm a bit confused. You're saying that the PCR test is an antigen test, because I've heard Professor Ampofu say that it's a molecular test.
Yes.
Something.
All right.
So is it the same thing? I didn't do science. I did economics, so I don't know. Is it the same thing?
Ben. So classically, any test that goes for the causative organism, that is the organism causing the problem, is an antigen test, because in science you just refer to that organism as an antigen and the response from the body
as the antibody.
As the antibodies.
Good.
Okay. Now, although it's an antigen test, that's a broad category. When you go down, what makes it a molecular test is that it is a technology that makes you extract the genetic material from the sample. And then you go and place it under an electron microscope to amplify the genetic material. The sequence, if it coincides with the known sequence of the virus or a part of it, tells you that the virus is present. Now, this is a long route where you must first do extraction, and after extraction, go ahead to do identification and through amplification or amplifying the sequence. But what the classical, and now I'm using classical antigen because that's not going through the route of extracting and looking at a microscope. What a classical antigen test does is to identify a particular unit in the virus or the antigen that is unique only to that antigen. That's in this case, say the COVID-19. So that immediately it identifies that marker. It then tells you that this virus is present. What makes it different from antibody is that in identifying a marker or unit specific to the virus, it takes a lot of technology and a lot of having precision. And that is why technology sometimes comes out as
finally, Doc. Again, sorry to go back to the cost. I have seen screenshots of the test kit that we are using, a type. And in some instances, we are told it's going for $6.17. The cost of the kit. How much did we buy the kit, and why are we charging $150 for the test?
Yeah, Ben. So, like I said, you have the option of going for the most sensitive test, which classically, or in science, we say the gold standard is the PCR. Now, to use a PCR, you have to have a scheme where a mechanism where your travelers must get the test done and go and sleep in the hotel and wait. Because time is a crucial factor. Even in countries like China, where they can do it at the airport, you have to wait 6 hours. Because we wanted to have a technology that beats time, we have to go for this particular antigen test. Now here, we have a situation where it is giving us the accuracy of a PCR machine, yet under 30 minutes. So that what you are looking for in a PCR, which you'll be comfortable to pay $200 in the US, has been given to you by this machine. And the provider says that because of the invention and the technology, the cost that I think is fair is $150. Well, there are cheaper options, which includes an antibody test. That will let about 60-70% of the guys sleep in. Do we go for that? As a country and as people involved in health management, we thought that the two most important ingredients have been satisfied by this technology.
Okay.
Which is the accuracy
Thank you.
and the time. And by the way, I mentioned this morning or yesterday morning that some of the costs being thrown about are kits that don't go through the technology or the processes that this one at the airport does.
All right.
Thank
you.
And Ben, it's also important to understand that even some companies talking about these kits are being funded by governments.
Fair enough.
When they talk about price, it is price that is fixed.
Thank
for
you
the
very much,
and not a
Doc.
commercial price.
Thank you for the enlightenment. Thank you. That was Dr. Bernardo Kuboy. Back in studio, Honorable Kofi.
Yeah,
Ada.
may I just comment on that?
Yes, please.
Allow you sufficient time to talk about the technical aspects of the test.
Yes.
But you have to be very fair and clear about this. You showed your clip on the visit of your officer to the airport. You saw the installations that have taken place.
Yes.
Not just a matter of test alone. All the infrastructure, all of the support services that go into that, all the administrative services, all of those things bring about a cost build-up. So one has to be sure that whatever we're doing to keep us all safe, to make sure that there's not extra interaction, to make sure the process is smooth sailing, all those things are costs that we add on to whatever we have to do.
So the honesty is not just for the test?
All I'm trying to tell you is that a cost build-up comes into all of this. We have to find a way to recover this, service the airport, and make sure that we service whoever is going to be working on it. How many personnel are on this job? We're talking about not less than 40 people directly on the testing side. We're talking about 70 people who are running shifts, about 140 to 150 of them all available. We're talking about the banking crew that are going to be there. We're talking about all the ushers from the airport. So much cost.
So we shouldn't think of the $150 as just the cost of the test.
No,
we should think about it as the infrastructure.
Exactly so.
But isn't that
the government was paying?
Isn't that part of the cost of our ticket? When you pay for a ticket to fly, and the inbuilt
it's
cost.
essentially for your aircraft to carry you from point one to point B.
Okay.
The little extra that we put on the airport usually for security and safety.
Okay.
That's different. Now we're doing something extra beyond what we've been doing, and that's why we have to find a way to get it. We're not even cutting the edge of it at all and saying that's a cost recovery. No. We'll find a way to be able to make us all safe and make the place secure for all of us. So really, Ghanaians have to be fair and accept this as a way for us to be alive, to be safe. And bear in mind that the government was paying for the test when we were doing the hotels. And you were paying about $900 at least in the hotel. Now you are forgoing the $900 plus, and you are going to pay only $150 so you can go home within a matter of 30 minutes or 1 hour maximum. So why do you have to question that? If you choose to go, as the WHO is saying that you should go back to the hotel, fine.
Just a quick question there. Now that you want to make Ghana an aviation hub and want to attract tourism, the year of return, would you look at the 150 as possibly prohibitive, in sense that if someone is going to, say, Senegal or Gambia, and they look at the costs, don't forget we already discussed hotels, are you minded about the potential deterrence of a high cost to that effort of bringing more people in?
I'm minded about somebody's safety and your life that you're protecting. That's number one. If you come to Ghana, you'll find it's a safe haven to come to, where your life is going to be protected, where you're going to be healthy, you're going to go back to your family, wherever you came from, and not worry about contracting the virus and share it with your family. I think that would be more attractive than even talking about money to start with. That's very important for us to keep in mind. There are other countries where they're not even worried about it. There are other countries where the government is picking up the entire tab. Okay, we are not in a position to do that. Why we could do that, we did it when you were staying at the hotel. Now we're finding a way, since we're coming back alive, as it were, and getting the airport functioning again, let's find a way for us also to support the state to be able to get it. That's not the entire cost of all of the expenditure that we're incurring at the airport, but at least one element of it that we are addressing at this point in time.
I'll take a short break and come back and take your final comments. This is the Point of View. Guest in studio, Honorable Kofi Ada, and on phone via Zoom, and Okoboy. We'll be right back.
Don't just watch, be wowed. Get fired up. Get down. Catch feels. Drop the mic. Choose to be moved. On the move. Hot spot, any spot. Enjoy a new view. Walk in another shoes. Power heels. Paws and feet. Take your stories to the streets. Hold court with court queens. Ice queens and Yas queens. Fly away. Come back home. And enjoy online entertainment on any screen. Sign up at showmax.com and change the way you watch.
Just not ready yet. I want to wait a little before getting pregnant again.
Stop worrying and live free. No matter who you are, Lydia has a contraceptive just for you. Choose the Lydia Daily Contraceptive Pill with iron as your regular contraceptive, or the Lydia IUD, a non-hormonal contraceptive for long-term pregnancy prevention. Contact the Lydia Contact Center and let us help you decide how to live free. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Welcome back to the Point of View. My guest in studio, Honorable Kofi Ada. So we have just a minute to wrap up. How confident are you that we are on the right track to attract the 7,000 passengers that we were having during peak time?
We're not going to be able to attract them overnight. It's going to take time. And I'm confident from what we've done in the past. Ghana was rated highest in Africa last year in safety and security, if you're trying to maintain that standard. And what we're doing, or the protocols that we're observing, the policies that the president is getting us to embark on, are the things that are showing the whole world that Ghana is a safe place to be, and that they should come here and be sure that they get a life and go back. The infrastructure that we're implementing, the expansion of the airport, the new airport that we're trying to get developed in the country, the other support services that are all coming to the airport, these are things that will make Ghana a aviation hub in the sub-region. And I think Ghanaians have to be aware that as much as we would like the state to be able to do everything for us, we do not have what it takes to do that. And therefore, any partnership that comes in, that will bring about a win-win situation, that will make sure that we're able to get whatever we need to expand the aviation sector, to bring in the additional jobs and businesses that will get our people engaged, and things that we should consider seriously.
Thank you.
I'd like to conclude on saying that we are not selling the airport, we're not privatizing the airport, there's no management contract.
You keep saying this.
Yes.
I haven't even asked you if you are selling the airport.
Well, you are not asking, I'm telling the public.
It's been coming up a lot.
Yes.
People feel that's the intention. Anyway, thank you for talking to us. Good job. That was the Minister for Aviation, Honorable Kofi Ada. So the airport is open. You can tell your relatives to come back to Ghana. And also you can go out to do business to any part of the world. We had Bernard Okoboy, MP for Lejokuku, and Deputy Minister for Health on the Zoom, and of course Kofi Ada, MP for Navrongo Central, Minister for Aviation. My name is Bernard Avile. Thank you for watching. Stay with City TV. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The Point of View is powered by Airtel Tigo. Have you heard?